Harland & Shipyard in Belfast, Ireland. This large framework, called a gantry, surrounds the ships as they are built. It supports the overhead cranes and scaffolding used by workers as they construct the Olympic and the Titanic. Notice that just beyond the far end of the gantry lies the Belfast Harbour. Workers will build the Olympic here on the right, and then 9 months later, before the Olympic is finished, they will start on the left the Titanic. When completed, the Olympic stern, or rear end of the ship, will point toward the harbor. The ship's construction starts with its keel, seen here as a long, dark shape. The keel is the backbone of the ship that gives the ship rigidity. If we look at the keel from the land side, we see the keel blocks that support it. These wooden blocks, typically pine, separate the ship from the slip, the concrete floor of the gantry. Each keel block stands about 5 feet high, so this creates a space under the ship for workers to construct the ship. Workers build the ship outward from the keel. Here they construct the Olympic's double bottom. In pink we see the framework that separates and supports the two bottoms of the ship. The second bottom is shown in orange. It's made of steel plates and is sometimes called the tank top because the double bottom contains 44 watertight tanks. Most of the tanks carried seawater used as ballast to balance and add weight to the ship, but some carried fresh water. In total, the double bottom carried over 5,000 tons of water, or about 1.5 million gallons. Once they finish the double bottom, workers erect the framing for the hull. From this view, we see the framing for the stern of the ship. It's what a worker would see standing on the tank top from the floor and looking toward the aft of the ship. That's where the harbor is. Looking closer, we see the rib-like structure at the start of the transverse frame of the ship. Workers rivet to this frame the hull, which will form the skin. So far, we've watched the Olympic's construction. In the gantry, that ship sits here in the background. In the foreground lies the keel of its twin, the Titanic. Its construction began 9 months after the Olympic. We see here, attached to the keel, the framework of the Titanic's double bottom. Notice this large, claw-like mechanism lying on the ground, and these three hung from the cranes. These are hydraulic riveters, which workers use to install most of the 3 million rivets in Titanic. Here we see the almost complete hulls of both the Olympic and Titanic. Work inside the Olympic progresses rapidly. The staterooms are being erected, and plumbing is being fitted throughout the ship. To prepare for the Olympics launch, workers paint the ship a light gray so it will stand out in black and white photographs, although they repainted the ship black soon after its launch so that it matched previous White Star liners. To ease the slide into the water, the slip was greased with 23 tons of tallow, oil, and soap. And then the order to release the ship was given, the hydraulic triggers were released, and the ship slid into the harbor, reaching a speed of 12.5 knots. Notice that the ship is launched backwards. There are many reasons for this, but among them is that the stern, the rear, is wider than the bow, so it is more buoyant. In a mere 62 seconds after launch, the Olympic was afloat. The ship had 2 sets of reciprocating engines. These engines were fueled by coal, which was stored along the bottom of the ship. Exhaust gases from the boiler discharge through these smokestacks, which are frequently called funnels. Now, they don't look like funnels until you look at them the right way. They're upside-down funnels. This cross-section of the Olympic shows the boilers sitting atop the double bottom. Exhaust from the boilers is funneled up and out of the ship. It's well known that the aftmost funnel on these ships is a dummy, and was built primarily for aesthetic reasons. Although it did not service the boilers, it was used as a ventilation and extraction shaft for the engine and turbine rooms. As the Titanic crossed the Atlantic, 650 tons of coal per day was shoveled into cylindrical boilers where it was burned to produce steam. These boilers were nearly 16 feet in diameter. This picture shows a single boiler. Notice the 2 workers beside it. The steam was piped to these reciprocating engines. The engines, when viewed from the front of the ship, look like this. The orange is the piston rod, and inside the cylindrical casing is the piston. Excess steam from these engines was used to drive a turbine engine. A shaft transfers power from the engines to the propellers. The ones on the left and the right were powered by the reciprocating engines, and each propeller weighed 38 tons, while the central propeller was powered by the turbine engine. It was cast as a single piece of manganese bronze and weighed 22 tons. The outer propellers were used for tight navigation of harbors, while the central propeller was used only in open seas. Also, unlike the others, the central propeller could not be driven in reverse, only forward. The Olympic-class ships were absolute marvels of engineering. I hope it's for their revolutionary design, rather than their failures, that they're remembered. I'm Bill Hammock, the engineer guy. And we see the framework that separates and supports the two bottoms of the ship. The sank is shown in orange. It's made of steel and sometimes called Titanic double bottom, 40-foot water tanks. Most of the tanks carry seawater, its balance, and weight to the ship, but some carry fresh water. In total, double bottom carry 5,000 tons of water, or about 1.5 billion gallons. Once they finish double bottom, workers erect the ship in the launch. For this view, you see the rating to the stern of the ship. So workers see the
First, ayan, nalungkot na siya. Iceberg right ahead. Titanic lifeboat flag. White Star Line chamber part. First handle and bracelet from Titanic. Bracelet. Yes, guys. 96 children, boys and girls. Second class. Yung mga batang namatay ito. Anti-artifact life jacket. Yan siya. Titanic butter pot dish. Yan o. Titanic first class breakfast. Yan. First class, 7 children, 5 boys and 2 girls. First class passenger. Ayan yung mga namatay doon sa Titanic.
Because I know this one is like
That's the whole. Ayan yung wall ng Titanic. Ayan yung paano lumubog yung Titanic.